Representative, my name is Jose Martin Pacheco. I'm an environmental artist. I moved to Philly for a reason, to create consciousness about the protection of the environment. How come many elected officials, once they get up there, they forget about the reality of what we're living? And our children, Latinos and blacks, are living in the raw garbage every day in their lives. What's going to be done about that?
You know, one of the things that I love about my life, I have folks who will always keep me humble. I have a mother who does not mind still taking her belt off if she has to. Therefore, Jason Dawkins is never going to go too far in those clouds because he has a core group that will keep him grounded. And that's one of the reasons why I picked the team I have. I know they will never allow me to get too big-headed. They will never allow me to forget where I come from. And I always remember that. I live with that every day of where I'm from and why it's important that I serve. And I wake up every morning and I tell myself, you are here to serve, not to have folks serve you. And that's the difference. So in terms of the actual blight that we have in our community, I'm a huge advocate for cleanups. And me and you spoke earlier, you live in a district, so I'm going to call on you to do cleanups on Fifth Street. And you can hold me to that. Every year I do one of the largest cleanups with the mayor's cleanup. They know I'm coming because I come with a U-Haul and I pick up probably over thousands of pieces of brooms and bags and whatever. And I try to tackle areas. So we're going to identify issues together, me and you. Because you have a job too. Your job is to hold me accountable, but your job is also to identify problems and make sure that I get those problems solved. So when you identify those problems and you get them to me, it's done. Thank you.
My name is Candido Silva, and my question is based on grants and unions, city unions. Right now, in 2015, we have grants that are going to run out for the health department in the city of Philadelphia for those employees in the city of Philadelphia. What kind of legislation can you, I know you have to do research and all. It's something you need to look into. We need to continue to bring grants into the city of Philadelphia to keep these employees. We talk about poverty, we're talking about addictions or what have you. This may be a problem overall for blue collar workers as well as white collar workers. What do you see in the near future bringing more grants, writing legislations to make sure these people stay employed?
Well, in terms of keeping folks working, especially our unions, it's a two-part question. The first part is, what we could do to keep you working is make sure we identify more development opportunities for you. Make sure that we have work for you to do. So when we talk about grants, right? Grants are great, but eventually they run out. If we don't have things for you guys to actually do for those grant money or that actual allocation of funding, then we're not growing our city. So when we're able to kind of put together a plan, which I think the city is in desperate need of a true comprehensive plan of how do we really grow it. Now we have the 2035 plan, which I think I like in certain parts. But are we actually following the model? Are we actually looking at, do we have that money in the pipeline to actually ensure that the unions actually have work? Now, the second thing is about unifying, or unification, if you will. Most of the issues you're referring to is going to be city related, right? And what I have to do as a state legislator is ensure that I have a tight-knit relationship with all the other electeds that represent the same area that I represent or overlay my area and make sure that we have a common solution to a problem and make sure that we're identifying all the problems we have. We have our unions that we care dearly for. That's the foundation of our city. So we want to ensure that we're providing as many opportunities that can be taken advantage of our units to make sure that we're building our city and make sure you guys are staying at work. Most of the unions that in my area are around hospital workers. So I have a lot of hospitals in the area that I represent and a lot of healthcare workers. So we want to make sure that those facilities are continuing to grow, which means they're going to continue to hire. So same workers that represent in my district. And when we talk about some of the actual building trade stuff, now we can get to the building trade stuff, we have to ensure that we have minorities on those jobs. And that's the question that we're not asking. That's the issue that we're not tackling. We need to kind of stand up and walk around some of the job sites we have in our district and ask questions. Why don't I see a Latino? Why don't I see an African American?
There you go.
No one's swinging them hammers. So if we want to really change something, let's start by changing our attitude towards the work that's already being given and the money that's already here. Because this is millions of dollars that's being allocated through unions every single day. But I still have a lot of folks still at home that's not working, who's qualified to work on those jobs.
If you don't win. Also, you never know.
That's not even much. What we're going to say is when we win, is when we win. There's no if we.
Something happens.
No. When we win, you will have an elected official that actually gets it. You will have someone who's passionate and ready to go on day one. He doesn't need a training course. He just needs to be let go and do the job. So that's what you will have. You will have someone that's going to understand the actual need of the community and have the knowledge to get those things done. You will have a person who will always be approachable, who will always be willing to listen. That's one thing we don't do is listen. And I'm always going to be someone that you can come to and say, you know what, you were wrong about that issue. And I'm going to tell you why you were wrong. And I will be forced to listen to you. I may not like it, but I will be forced to listen because I was raised that way. I was raised with that respect to give it to others if I wanted to perceive it. So if I know I stand wrong with a lot of issues, believe me, I put my foot in my mouth a lot. And I don't mind. But that's what makes me who I am. But in order to be effective, you have to be able to lead. And I'm willing to lead.
Okay. Just something else you want to add?
Well,
Maybe
no,
I don't ask you, but
I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I think this is a great conversation. I think these are the type of conversations we need to continue. This shouldn't happen only around election time. This should happen on a continuous basis to ensure that your candidate that you elected is still saying the same things he said tonight. He's saying 6 months from now. He's saying a year from now. Because if I ever change or go off course, someone has to be able to bring me back. And sometimes we get so caught up in the moment and realize we're going so far off the beaten path that we started out on that it's almost impossible to find our way back to that path. Yeah. So if we continue this conversation, we can continue to make sure that folks like myself continue to thrive, but also to ensure that we still have the integrity within our office and within our community. This is about community unifying together. I am a staunch believer that we can do anything in this world if we stick together and come up with a plan and stick to the plan. Leave your ego at the door. Make sure that you're only here for the community's benefit and nothing else, and we'll get along perfectly fine. So I want to thank you all again. Please have me out again. I want to thank you. You got great votes. Thank you.